All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN Plus all afternoon. What an afternoon we're about to have. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and there he is, Jason Strudwick. Struddy looking very confident. Based on where I'm at, I'm in Toronto, you're in Edmonton, but you are oozing confidence based on what I'm seeing right now. Am I judging that book accurately by its cover, inaccurately?
I'm surprised he doesn't have a tuxedo on.
I thought he'd be jacked. I thought he'd be jacked for tonight. How are we feeling, Strud?
Good. I am feeling good, but probably for not a reason expected. I was invited out to be beat the pro on a long drive hole for a tournament, and guys, I was crushing it. I'm not a great golfer. I was in the zone, just a little fade around this nice little dog leg. People were thanking me. I'm like, that's just what I do. That is just what I do. So I do have confidence because of my golf game.
I love it. Well, that's a good sign. If you're hitting butter fades wherever you're playing golf out there, I think that's a good sign for the game tonight. And I like that idea. I think if I'm an Oilers fan, nobody's working tonight, right? Like, nobody is working. Nobody's going to be on the streets tonight. This will be doing a 100 share in terms of ratings across the board in Edmonton, and I would guess probably close to throughout the country tonight. But easing in with a round of golf, I kind of like that idea, right? Take your mind off it. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I'm just jacked for the game. I don't have nervous energy at all. I just want the puck to drop. And I've changed my mind on this, so you tell me how you feel about this. Struddy, you jump in too. Because, with how long this series is gone, it has taken a long time.
You like it now?
Well, what I like is that the game is on a Monday night, and I know that is counterintuitive, and I know what I said last week. I would have loved the Saturday night Game 7, Sunday night Game 7. I actually think, even though I don't work for the league and it doesn't affect my bottom line whatsoever, I think the idea of having a full day on a Monday with the full media engine chugging, promoting the game tonight, it's like the national championship in college football. They play that on a Monday night. And ESPN all day was talking about the Cup Final. Obviously, TSN up here. Everyone, in the sports world, all eyes are on the Cup Final tonight. I don't know if you would have had that yesterday or Saturday night. Ratings would have been huge. But the idea of a build-up on a Monday, I'm actually coming around on this, and I think it's going to pop tonight.
Let's be real here. Regardless of the circumstances, and the circumstances involving this Game 7 tonight, I don't know if you can get any better. You've got a storyline coming out at the end of this game where it's going to be heartbreak regardless. It's like someone is going to be just overcome with joy because they pulled the trigger on this. But one team is either going to get it back on the rails after being up 3-Cobb, or the other one is going to do the unthinkable, which is come back from a 3-0 deficit and close the deal on this. So whoever gets this done, they're going to be just over the moon. But there is going to be a team that is going to be even the Oilers, like as fantastic as it's been this comeback, if they don't get it done, they'll be more devastated than losing 4 straight.
It's so cruel. It's so cruel. Whoever
it is dude. Whoever loses, man, it's going to be cruel. And we always talk about the road to the final. And Hayes, you said last week 1 cup counts as 3, which I thought was ridiculous. That is a ridiculous comment.
Out of context. I want to expand on that because I was taking heat over the weekend. I was talking specifically about McDavid and the GOAT chase. That's what I meant by that, is that he can't. I think he's too far into his career to win 5, 6, 7 cups, or anything crazy like that. This could be his only cup. But if he gets it tonight and he does it in the fashion that he's done it in, that's what I was saying. Is that?
But my point is, like the Florida Panthers, if they lose tonight, and it's awful to talk about the negative narrative which might come out of the game, but they're going to be like, we just got to 2 finals, and we've discussed so many times how difficult it is to get on that journey and get to the finish line. You lose 2 finals, and in this fashion would be crushing. Oh. And they would have to be thinking, how on earth would we ever get back here again with this group? Like you talk about Tampa, they did the unthinkable. They went to 3 in a row. So difficult. They won 2. But to just think of getting back to a third one, whether it be, it's not going to be next year. I don't care how good they are or how good Bobrovsky is. To return next year would be unthinkable. Mm-hmm. And for the Oilers, there's going to be question marks, and with free agents and just how much movement there is in teams, they're going to be thinking, was this our one chance to get McDavid the cup? And
I think both sides have their challenges if they lose, right? You look at Florida, so many unrestricted free agents and some significant ones. So they're not going to be able to keep everybody. So their team will look different. And then for the Oilers, you're right. They've been working towards this for a number of years. And, when Ken Holland took the job, he said, my job is just to try to give him a chance every year. Just give him a chance every year. And he took quite a bit of heat early in the year, especially. And then as they kind of went on, a little bit less heat than some of the trades. Maybe people wanted to make a different trade rather than Henrique and Carrick. It's worked out pretty well. They found a third line underneath Henrique's guidance. So, for the Oilers, this team will look the same even in a week. The team's going to look different in a week. Every team's going to look different in a week. But for Florida and Edmonton, there will be guys that are celebrating, either partying like crazy because they won or partying like crazy because they lost, and picking new teams in less than a week, which is, to me, is mind-blowing. Because those are big decisions to make in 6-7 days of trying to find a breath of sobriety.
Well, I also think the story's going to be told so differently based on who wins and who loses. And what I mean by that is Edmonton, I think, is still kind of playing with house money, because if they win, they become the most triumphant Cup winners, I think, of all time.
Absolutely,
you came down from 3-0, stormed back. You get the best player in the world. The whole story, the microcosm of the start of the year and how it expanded beyond that. The first 3 games, that was the Woodcroft Oilers. I know they played well and different, but the point being is they just kept overcoming all these different trials and tribulations. And if they win, no one will ever forget what they did, and no one will ever forget what Florida did. But I think it's the complete opposite if Florida wins tonight. If Florida wins, it probably just kind of fades into the history books. Not for the players. Like, the players are going to they were triumphant. They won. It's amazing. And if you're a Panthers fan, you'll never forget it.
If Florida wins, they're the 2024 Cup
That's
champs.
right. And if Edmonton loses, they're just the 2024 losers that no one's going to remember. Like, no one's going to remember that they came back from 3-0 and McDavid was great. I'm sorry, you just don't get that luxury in sports if you don't win. Over time, it fades. Yes, we'll remember it next week, next year, a couple years from now. 10, 15 years from now, the Oilers will fade if they lose. The Panthers will just become the 2024 Cup winners. Good for them. But if it's the opposite, these two teams will be remembered forever. And that's what's amazing about tonight and how amazing this could play out. If Edmonton wins this, I really don't know which story is more compelling. I honestly don't know which one you could write a better screenplay about, because the Oilers would be this just fairy tale Disney Shakespearean type thing, where the Panthers, it would just be like a drama, like the movie Seven. Like, it just ended with a way where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. Like, I can't believe that just happened.
What I see here is, after the game and they shake hands, there'll be a tremendous amount of respect in that handshake line, something that Leafs fans are familiar with, and they'll be, just talking about it. And
I had to go there.
Unnecessary. On the day Joseph Wall's moving towards a new contract, we don't need that type of negative energy around here.
Okay, I took my shot. I'll be nice. But but in all sincerity, I think that there'll be a lot of respect for both sides, because you could make a case that whoever wins, the other team deserves a win as well. So I think there'll be a lot of that, and they'll be respectful. Then they'll let that team clear out, and then the other team will go nuts, right? I think the other team will go nuts. Family, friends pouring onto the ice. It'll be special for Florida to do it there. The challenge, I think, for Florida guys is this. We saw yesterday, it sounded like, Paul Maurice was barking a little bit around in practice and a little bit of compete drills and, tweaked a line on the power play. The challenge for them is belief. Do they believe they can actually win this thing? And what happens if the Oilers score first or something goes wrong early for the Panthers? Can they weather that storm? Or is it another bad thing? Then another bad thing. On the other side, I think for the Oilers, they're looking for something good to happen. They've had a lot of good things happen. They feel good about their game. So I think it's the mental game, that belief for the Panthers, that is ultimately the biggest. I think that's the biggest wild card in this whole Game 7.
And it feels to me like they're trying to force it. Like, Matthew Tkachuk's laying it on way too thick. He knows this won't be the loudest building he's ever played in. Oh. He knows it's not even going to be close.
Is that what he said? It's going to be the loudest.
Yes. And
dude, you have to say that, man, because then you're sending the message to the fan base. You better be the loudest building. I love the comment.
If it is, it's because Oiler fans are flying in, and it's going to get loud because the Oiler fans are going to take over.
Dude, I got to say one thing. It was great to see the fans in Edmonton, and everybody craps on playing in Canada, like, and saying, oh, going to another team in the States and you're back in the real NHL, that seemed better than the real NHL. And you know what comments I'm talking about. It just seemed like tax breaks are great, weather, lifestyle, and everything, but playing those games, and Struddy, you and Noodles were there for some of them, like that's, I don't know, if you care about playing hockey in a hockey crazed market, that seemed pretty special. I was happy for not just people in Edmonton and Alberta, but for the country to show everyone, if you actually put a team together that wins, it can be fantastic and better than anywhere else. So good on Edmonton and good on everybody that went to the games, because that was unbelievable.
It's crazy. It's been crazy here. And I think your point's really outweighed, old Doc. There are some benefits to playing in different areas for sure.
Yeah, and if you know what? It's not that fun, Struddy, if you suck.
No, and if you're not, and if you're...
if you don't try and you don't produce and people care about it and you might take some heat, but that's just Canada. Sorry.
So let's say this. Let's say the Oilers, whether they win or lose, this group will be, immortalized here in Edmonton forever because of the way they played, and they're loved. They're beloved, this team. They're loved here. Obviously, if they win, it takes it to another level, but they still talk about 2006, the team here, and it'd be like that whether it's Winnipeg or Vancouver when they lost in 2011, Toronto when they get to that point, or Ottawa or Montreal, like you're totally remembered. So I think there's been a really good, it's showcased Canadian hockey in a really good way, and Edmonton's put on a good show, both the fans and the team. So, Florida, I heard the Tkachuk comments, and I think he's got to be front and center today. I really look at his game. He's got to find a way to, I don't know if he's got an injury, but, other than that one period, was it game 4 or 5 where he scored and kind of got going, we haven't seen him really moving his legs and skating. So I don't know if there's something there, but, man, they need an emotional leader, and I'm looking around that lineup. That's the guy.
Well, and that speaks to the word belief that you mentioned. Like he's got to prove that he believes they can win, and that has to course through the whole team. Like Bob as well. Bobrovsky's got to play better than he has been playing, and I think what has stood out to me is the way Edmonton has started these games. Like they are flying out of the gates, and Florida looks asleep. Like Florida's chasing the game from puck drop, and for me, there's a few different things that have changed. Like the goaltending has flipped a little bit. Not that Skinner performed poorly early on, but he's been great, and Bob has struggled. That is significant. I also think Florida's they're bullies. They played like bullies, and they've played in control of series really throughout the playoffs. And they kind of put Tampa to sleep. They kind of put Boston to sleep. They kind of put New York to sleep. And I think up 3-0, they thought, okay, Edmonton's going to sleep.
They didn't put people to sleep, Brian. You know what they did? They overwhelmed them. And they overwhelmed them by a group pack mentality with a bunch of guys that were playing extremely well. And what you've seen over the last 3 games, where's Montour? Where's Verhaeghe? Where's Sam Bennett? Where's Tkachuk, other than that one game that he played where he was Reinhart. Like, Lundell. You're talking about a bunch of guys that Rodriguez, he had the points early, and then it's like they got a bunch of guys that need to elevate if they want to get back to that swarming mentality. They didn't put anybody to sleep. They overwhelmed them, and they suffocated them.
Yeah. Well, you're whichever word you want to use, sleep, suffocate, I agree with you. What I'm saying is they knocked them out, and they basically said, you're not getting up off the mat, and we're going to bully you, and we're going to run your show, and that's what they did. And I think through 3 games, they thought we're doing the same thing to Edmonton, but Edmonton got up off the mat.
That's
and
right.
they threw a haymaker.
Yeah, whatever way you want to call it, that they
that's
did.
What I mean. I didn't mean like literally the way they were formulating the game plan.
But
I meant
how they did it is a bunch of guys playing extremely well, and they have a bunch of guys that I don't know if they're tired, out of gas, but they have fallen off the map. And they're not even close. You look at Montour, he was playing a dominant brand of hockey.
He's taking off PP1. They're not even putting him on the first power play.
I think Tarasenko's gone up to PP1, which is a dangerous game, making switches like that with 1 game to go. There's something about me that might have said, let's just get it back to what got us here and do it for 1 game, and these are the guys that are going to have to get it done.
Yeah, let me ask, because I think it'd be pretty dramatic to change up your PP1 unit, not just 1 spot, but now 2 spots. And
Struds, with 1 game left, it's crazy.
I could imagine.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, I think that speaks to Maurice. He's trying to play a card that Knobloch has kind of played, right? Like Knobloch has changed his lineup consistently, even after wins, after losses, where Maurice has kind of just been comfortable and this is who we are, this is what we're going to portray, and they're trying to find it. And that's exactly what's on the line tonight is Florida is trying to find it. And I don't think it's possible for Edmonton to be overconfident because it's Game 7 of a Cup final. Like, they're not. This isn't a trap game, right? They're not going to take their foot off the gas. They're going to keep playing the way they've been playing. That doesn't guarantee they're going to win. If Florida plays the way they've played at many, many times throughout these playoffs, they're going to be in a very good place to win tonight, and it should be a great game. But it's amazing how the pendulum has swung to the point now where it's like Florida's got to prove it. Florida's got to prove that they can keep up. That because the pace, like Edmonton's all over them. Like they're flying through the neutral zone. The odd man rushes, the breakaways, their power play, their penalty kill. Like it's their goaltending. It's everything across the board for 3 games has been Edmonton.
That's the question coming into this game. Can Edmonton play that well getting back into this series and have a fall off? And just what we talked about with the Panthers, can they flip the switch after these 3 and say, that wasn't us, and we're not doing it a 4th game in a row? Mm-hmm. So what happens tonight? I can't see this being a high-scoring game. I just cannot. It's trouble for Edmonton if it is, first of all, but I see this being a 2-1 hockey game, maybe 1-0.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be so tense because you've got to think, you're going out on that ice. It's tough enough to play in that league as it is. Any pinch, any stupid penalty, any pizza up the middle can affect your team winning the Stanley Cup. And that's the nerves that you have to deal with going out on that ice, to try to play your best game while understanding in the back of your mind that that could happen. One stupid pass, one little play, one bad save. It's incredible the stress that would go into that.
Oh, man.
I think you got to shrink it, though. You really got to shrink the game. I think you got to break it down to almost 5-minute segments. And so each guy, that's 2-3 shifts, whatever, 2 shifts each. I'll just
Strud, what would you do? Would you, instead of going off the glass, you'd go off the glass harder?
Well, I'd maybe hit a different pane of glass.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe one a little further, mix it up. But honestly, that's what they're doing right now. If you look at the Oilers, like they're bombing way out to the guy who's stretching, and that's limiting or challenging the way Florida pinches because they love pinches. They love strong side pinches. Now you throw it way out there, and you have forwards back there who are trying to play D, and when forwards see another forward play D, it is pure excitement. It's like when Noodles sees a buffet of extra crab legs. Like, he gets so excited. He's just charging in there to get in there.
Yep.
So I think that's been a pretty good move. But honestly, I'd break it down to 5-minute segments. If I'm Chris, like, hey, let's just play the first 5, second 5, and just because it's too big. Like, I couldn't imagine waking up from my nap right now thinking I could win the Stanley Cup tonight. Like, that's a huge thing. If you've never been
really
to it
is,
before.
man. It's
Every single guy is thinking that. I could lift the Stanley Cup tonight after
crazy.
Nap.
Yeah. Someone is for sure.
And I would bet if guys shut it down for 2 hours, well, I don't know. How long did you have a nap for, Strud? Mine was like, the older I got, it was less and less.
Me too.
But I guarantee you hardly anybody slept today. They probably went to the rink an hour earlier than normal. What else are you going to do?
And you know what? You want to be around. You want to soak up that moment and enjoy it. I mean, Chris Knobloch's talked a lot about enjoying the moment, being a part of it. Like, I get it. But at the end of the day, still, it's a huge situation. So I go back to, short, like just small little windows. And then what do I do well? What is my job? If I'm Connor Brown, I skate well, I strip pucks, I get the puck to the net and kill penalties. Just the most basic. That's what I do. I don't have to do anything special because if I do that and everyone else does their job, that'll probably be enough to win tonight. I think if everyone plays just to their abilities, the Oilers should win if I'm in that dressing room.
Well, we're going to find out in a few hours, and we got a bunch of guys on the show today that will help us tee it up. Mr. Game 7 himself, Justin Williams, coming up. Willie will join us in about 15 minutes. Couldn't think of a better guy to talk to ahead of the game tonight. Also, Conn Smythe winner back in 2014. We'll get into that with Willie. Kevin Lowe on the show, who's won how many cups? 6 cups in his life?
Yeah.
Pretty good cup winner. Pretty good Oiler back in the day as well. So Kevin Lowe will join us just after 6. Noodles coming up from Florida. I've got 7 questions for Game 7 we're going to answer as well. We'll get to that around 5 o'clock. And if it weren't for the Cup Final, we'd be talking about the Jays, which we will, Joseph Wall, which we will, Scotty Barnes, which we will. There's a lot going on today. And we're going to get to all of it. We can't wait for it.
Maybe a little 3 to 5 pack draft of players tonight. Throw in 500 each. Point total wins it all.
I love it. We got it all cooking for the game tonight. We're teeing it up. Jays down at Fenway as well. They got swept over the weekend. In case you're still checking in, it's a disaster. And now their best prospect who just got called up is suspended for 80 games because he's taking PEDs. So literally everything is going wrong for the Jays right now. There is not one positive thing that represents the Blue Jays right now. We'll get more into that as the afternoon goes on. Jason Strudwick with us with the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill. I'm Bryan Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN Plus. OverDrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jason Strudwick. We got Justin Williams coming up here in a few moments. Willie will join us on him being Mr. Game 7, him winning the Conn Smythe, winning a few cups. Willie knows what it takes. So a perfect guy to talk to today. Kevin Lowe later this afternoon. Noodles coming up. Jays are in Fenway, and they got swept over the weekend. And that wasn't even the biggest story. It was obviously Orelvis Martinez, who we were all waiting to see play. He's suspended for 80 games. See you later. And I just can't think of anything that could, like, how does it get worse for this team? I know that's a horrible question to ask and really
that's
dark
gotta
and
be
pessimistic.
the King Daddy topper when your best prospect is it second best? Or
Yeah,
best?
he's ranked number 2. I think Tiedemann's ranked number 1.
Okay, he's the second best prospect in a garbage year. You want to get a sniff, and you get busted for PEDs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right as you got called up.
Yeah, they're
It's a
so
disaster.
unwatchable, man. It's tough to watch. Like it's just a. It's an L coming up. Like they're in a stretch right now where everyone's well aware, including the players that go out there every day, that they stink. Which is a horrible.
That's
feeling.
the issue, man. Like we discussed this last week that even from a sales pitch standpoint, in baseball historically you can either sell stars, and their stars just aren't playing that well. Like their big names are Springer, Bichette, Vladdy. Vladdy's been better recently, but he's not hitting for power. He's not a ticket seller. You're not going out to watch Vladdy play. Springer statistically might be the worst everyday batter in baseball right now. That's not me being hyperbolic.
I think he has the lowest OPS
Yes.
of any position player.
It's horrible what he's bringing to the table. And, Bichette's on the IL, and prior to that, statistically, he was having a terrible year. You can't sell home runs because they don't hit any. You can't sell the ace because Gosman's not having a great year. You can't sell the closer because Romano's not having a great year. And you can't sell kids because the one guy you called up that everyone wanted to see is suspended for 80 games. Like you can't market this. I don't know how you could possibly market, hey, please come and track what the Blue Jays are doing right now.
Dude, how many times have I told you? It's like you did the reno on the ballpark, and then you say coming out and check this out.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't marry each other. It's insane to do that.
I know.
And
So
what,
where do
they
you go
didn't
from
think
here?
they knew this was coming? Like, come
Well, not
on.
this bad, I don't think, but they probably should have. Where do they go from here, Strud? I personally think it's time to completely reset the whole organization. I think
Again?
Yeah, I think. Well, listen, they probably peaked 2 years ago. Last year they were on the way down. They won 89 games. They made the playoffs. This year they're not going to the playoffs. They're 7 games under 500. It's going to get worse, likely.
Yeah. They're on lists with Oakland, and they're down near that. So
Right.
it's over. It's over.
Yes, there are 5 definitive teams that are worse than them: Oakland, the Angels, the White Sox, Colorado, and Miami. They're probably the 6th worst team in baseball right now.
And it's almost July. Sorry, it's game over.
No, exactly. It's game over. So what do you have? You've spent well over $200 million on the roster. You're not getting bang for your buck. They've got one of the worst farm systems in baseball. That's pretty much unanimously accepted throughout the baseball prospectus world, that they're a bottom third farm team. And where's it going? Gosman's not getting younger. Bassett's not getting younger. I don't know what you do with the bullpen. Springer's probably going to get worse. Turner's not going to turn it around. Kiermaier's not going to turn it around. I just think you probably need to completely reset. Figure out what you're going to do with Bo. Figure out what you do with Vladdy. Do you keep Jansen? I probably would. And you got to reload the system, man. That's kind of where you're at. And I think that's what sucks more than anything for Blue Jay fans is they're watching this and you can feel that that's what's coming. It was like the Raptors a year ago. You could feel it. You're like, they tried, they did it. The Raptors got their title, and then they were on the way down. The Jays were moving up there in 20, 21, 22, 23. Then they started coming down. And when you go down in sports, it's very difficult to just retool on the fly and make it work. They might try that, but I think they need to replenish basically the whole organization.
And make the decision quickly. So many, you saw with the Raptors, how they tried to hang on for dear life, and it was you knew it was there, you knew it was awful, and you made a trade to get a guy and gave up it's just do it. And all you do is send out a letter, best example ever is the New York Rangers. They sent a letter out to their fan base, and they said, look, we're doing this, and this is what has to happen. And everyone always talks about, oh, that market wouldn't be able to handle it. The market handles whatever you throw at it because they have no choice.
Right.
Like, unless you're in a market where people, just tell the truth. But sometimes there's a market where people won't show up. Everybody says about the Montreal Canadiens, if they really stink the joint out, people won't show up. But people are going to go to Jays games, but you just got to let them know, this didn't work, we got to fix it. Sorry. Maybe you get someone else in there to do it. I don't know. That's not my call. But just be upfront and get it over with quickly. Instead of hanging on for dear life, trying to trick people. We saw the Maple Leafs with that regime trying to say, we're going to do this with that group of players. It wasn't ever going to happen.
That's right. And
ever going to happen. And that's how you really piss people off, when you try to trick them. People aren't stupid.
There's another example of it. The Leafs in like 13, 14, it was like, guys, it's not good enough. Like it's too
Go
bad.
out and get Phaneuf, Phil Kessel and Bernier, and it's like
not going to work. And it didn't.
Working.
And they finally realized that, and they had to go a different direction. And guess what? People will be waiting for you when you turn back up. Yeah. The park will pack again. They'll be waiting for you, but you got to do some heavy lifting.
And is everyone comfortable with the people that are going to be directing this? Are they?
Well, that's a different story.
Because that's probably the first choice, isn't it?
Yes. I don't see a scenario where Shapiro, personally, I don't think Mark's going anywhere. Ross has been the GM for 9 years. It's a long time. Yeah. It's a long time.
I mean, they're tied together. You've always said that, Brian, but there's got to come a time where it's like, the one question I've been asking myself is, let's say they did land Ohtani. What would he do for this team?
Nothing.
I was going to say, they'd be garbage with Ohtani.
Yes, they would be.
And that might be a bigger mess than without Ohtani.
Right, and this may explain why. No, I don't think Ohtani was actually ever going to come up here. Now that the dust is settled and we know what happened. But there's a chance he looked at it and said, I can't win up there with what you have right now. Now, a lot of things have just, gone against them. They've had injury problems. Guys are having down years that I don't think you can expect it to be like the end of their career. Gosman's going to get it back on track. Bo will be better than this, Vladdy. But Springer's not going to turn it around. Justin Turner and Kiermaier, they're in their late 30s. Like the bullpens are volatile. So there's a chance Ohtani looked at it and said, even if I'm up there and I hit 50 home runs, what are we, 500? It's not going to be good enough. All right, we got Steve Phillips on that in a couple of hours. We got Kevin Lowe later this afternoon. Noodles coming up. We're teeing up Game 7 tonight, and I can't think of a better guy to get on to talk about Game 7. And I don't think he loves the nickname, but it's, in my opinion, maybe the coolest nickname in pro sports. Certainly on a short list. Here's our main man.
Are you kidding? He loves it.
It's the best. Mr. Game 7, Justin Williams. Willie, what's happening?
What's up, boys? How you doing? I told you it's grown. Well. It's kind of grown on me since I've retired, you get into the media circles. Everyone's like, Game 7. It's not too bad.
Yeah, it's better than being Mr. Game 1, right? You want to be Mr. Game 7 if you can be any game. So how are we feeling about tonight? Like, as a guy that obviously played in a lot of these, you won a couple of cups, a few cups, now that you're on the outside looking in, how do you experience a game like tonight?
Yes, I'm in the Hurricanes organization and I'm still in the game, but I'm kind of watching this one as a fan. I mean, this is pretty damn exciting. I mean, just the whole thing of being down 3-0, just completely being out of it, looking totally discombobulated, to an absolute snowball that's just running downhill right now and just feels like it can't be stopped. It's really amazing what's happened. And to me, I'll be watching this one as a fan, not cheering for anybody really on either side. But at the same time, just really, really excited for the players to have this opportunity.
Willie, what storyline has kind of like got your attention the most? Is it how Florida had the lead and then just kind of let their foot off the gas and had guys just not stop playing, but their level of play has really dropped off? Or is it the Oilers who said, and they even said in their media, they're like, we feel confident in what we're doing. We should have won this game, which at the time I thought it was ridiculous. Oh, we could have won that game. And it's like, you either do it or you don't. But they had some belief. Like, what kind of has got your attention about the series of those two things?
God, there's so much. There's like so many storylines to this, right? Because you can look at the first 3 games and you can make an argument that Edmonton was the better team in 2 of the 3. You can make that argument, and I don't think
I know, but you
wrong.
know what it's like in hockey. It's like you can say that, but nobody gives a rat's ass about that. Like it's we could have. We were the better team. You still lost.
But it's really hard to stick to your guns and actually do that, right? Because you can get off and get Panic City and just scratch everybody, throw some new guys in, throw the other goalie in, and just, go for it. But they've obviously they made some changes here and there, but I think the main storyline here is how they've been able to turn it around. Yes, you can look at Florida and say, well, we got sidetracked. Our families have flown to Edmonton across the country, 2 countries twice, and then had to do that flight home, which is just a bit awful. When we won in 2006, our families in Carolina, we went out to Edmonton too. They chartered a plane. They all went all the way out to Edmonton for Game 6 and get absolutely curb stomped, like 4-0. Had no business in this game whatsoever. And then the ride home with the Edmonton fans was just, everyone giving you the finger on the bus, horns honking nonstop. It was a thing of I was so pissed at everybody. But you went back, and just like Florida's going to do, they're going to be like, all right, we got 1 game to win the Stanley Cup, and we're at home. Can we just get it together, please, for this 1 game? So I think that's the storyline is forget everything that's happened. Florida, you don't want to be that team that everyone says, oh, that team lost it.
Right.
But Edmonton's really, they've really just, if they win it tonight, they've won it. I don't think Florida has lost it. Excuse me.
With Justin Williams. So with all of that said, like you always hear guys say leading up to the game is, it's just a game. We're going to go through a routine. Like that's just not possible to actually be feeling that way, right? Like before puck drop, did your teammates embrace, like this is clearly different. It's Game 7 for a cup final. Like, and if so, how would you handle the difference in energy? Did that freak you out? Did that excite you? Did it motivate you? Because there's nothing like it. Game 7 cup final. This is the most unique game you could possibly get in pro sports.
Yeah, it's just actually talking about it. I'm sure you guys do. You got smiles on your faces. Look at Struddy over there. He's so jacked up for the game tonight. Look at him. He hasn't said a word yet.
I can't get a run in here, bud.
But I think the team that can actually do that, Hayes, is the one that's going to be the most successful. In these magnitude games, when you get to it, and I remember in games that I played in, and I specifically remember kind of the last one I played in Washington. I went on the ice. It was double overtime in Game 7. And I was just like, I looked around and you just kind of embrace the moment. And you go out there and you smile and say, this is amazing. This opportunity that I have in front of me. And you have to want to be the guy, because anyone sitting in that room right now can be the guy. You can be the guy that's the difference tonight. And that's got to excite so many people on so many levels that, and as long as they're not on the other side of the fence, scared to be the GOAT, the guy who makes the mistake, the more guys who are on that other side of the fence being, I want to be the guy. I think I can be the guy. I can make a difference tonight. I think that team is going to win.
Willie, were the guy. Go ahead, Struddy.
Yeah, does it make a difference, Willie, when you've been through a Game 7? Like the Oilers have played a Game 7 elimination game, obviously twice with Vancouver. Does that make a difference? Like, does it get easier, the preparation or the mindset?
I think it does, absolutely. Pretty sure Florida hasn't faced any real adversity where if they don't win, they go home. Now they've got that in front of them, so we'll see how they respond. But I think it does make it a little bit easier, absolutely, for Edmonton to be like, wow, we've came this far. We've had our backs against the wall before. We've come through, and that's really what, that builds culture, and that builds a confidence, an inner confidence that clearly they're rolling with right now.
Willie, do you see any use in, you were the guy, and you were known, as we just said, your nickname, Mr. Game 7. Do you think it would be appropriate, or the guys would find it useful for someone to stand up and say something before the game, like whether it be Barkov, Kachuk, Connor McDavid? Like if you were in a locker room with Connor McDavid, would you kind of expect him to stand up and say something before the game that would have meaning, or would it just be like, if you don't understand what the hell's going on right now, you shouldn't be in this locker room?
Sure, everyone knows that, but this is where leadership is at its peak. I mean, the margin of error is it's so darn small, especially in this game tonight, what it's going to be. I remember when I was playing in 2006, Roddy Brindamore came into the dressing room, and Laviolette had his meeting at 5:30. We had a 7 o'clock game, I believe. He had his meeting at 5:30 as per usual, and Rod Brindamore scribbled a 5:20 meeting right before his. And then Peter Laviolette went by, saw that Roddy had a meeting scheduled, and just erased his off the board and said, all right, well, if anything I got to say is of no use if Roddy's got a meeting, 10 minutes before. So I do think it's really important that someone in either dressing room or maybe both step up and just say something. Just,
what did he say?
Leave it out there. Nothing. You say the obvious is what you say, but at least getting together and saying that is better than a coach coming in and saying, let's go get them, boys. Come on, one game for the Stanley Cup. It's just better when you take that ownership yourself, and you don't have to say anything special. It's got to be obvious, and it's got to be heartfelt, and it's got to be, make guys' needle move a little bit, but I'm sure they don't really need it to move. But that extra added incentive of I'm doing it for me, we do it for us, I do it for you, really can tug at you sometimes.
With Justin Williams,
especially with the older and younger guys. Sorry.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, they're like you said. It's interesting. The captains are kind of right in the middle, right? Like McDavid and Barkov haven't won anything, but they're both in their mid to late 20s, best players. I don't know what they would draw. So I guess in other words, would that be Corey Perry for Edmonton? And who is that? Tarasenko's won a cup, although he hasn't been there long. Opozo hasn't been there long, but he hasn't won.
Dude, this is about two guys, Brian. It's McDavid and Tkachuk. That's who you're talking about. That's who if I'm sitting in that locker room, it would probably be me if I was in the locker room. But if it wasn't, it would be one of those two guys.
Yes.
I would be like, what are we doing here? Get it together, guys.
It would be really motivational.
Right. Who booked a tea time for tomorrow? Can I get in on that? Make sure you book that with Justin Williams. So, Willie, you won a Conn Smythe in 14, and be honest with us. When you went out there, did you know you had won it by the end of the cup? Was it yours when you were stepping out there? You're like, A, I'm going to win a cup tonight, but B, I'm also going to win a Conn Smythe?
No, because I'm Justin Williams. I'm not a sexy name, Hazy. The sexy names out there were Drew Doughty, Jonathan Quick, Andrei Kopitar, Marian Gaborik. Those were the sexy names. The Jonathan Marchessaults and the Justin Williamses. We don't win it very often, right? So. I didn't expect it. That's for sure. And to have that kind of, be, just an extra added cherry on top there after or just before the cup comes out is pretty cool. So I would imagine. We're all on the page with McDavid winning it, win or loss, right?
I think that's what it's come to, right? Yeah. Which is amazing because the other night he didn't have a point. He didn't have a shot on net. And yet I don't think it affected anything. If anything, it still swung his way in terms of him being the favorite because Barkov wasn't great, Bob wasn't great, and I don't know who's been great on Florida. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't see a situation where he doesn't win it. I think right now he's probably the best athlete in any sport right now. The way he's playing currently, you go down any sport, right? Well, maybe Scotty Scheffler. He's pretty on top right now. Heyo.
Yeah.
That's disgusting what that guy's doing. He took a week off at the U.S. Open and then said, give me another $5 million. Give me another $5 million.
Yeah. Crazy. He is in machine mode right now. It's crazy. That's a good question. McDavid or Scheffler, who's, and probably Mahomes would throw his hat in the ring too and say, I know it's the NFL offseason, but don't forget about me. That's how good these guys are right now. And, it's going to be an amazing game, either way. And you're the perfect guy to talk to because you were down 0-3 against San Jose, was it? Right when you were in LA, Willie? And I remember asking you about that years ago, and you said you guys just always believed. And I wonder if you kind of, you got a little bit emotional hearing McDavid and some of the Oilers say that early in the series when they were down 0-2, 0-3. They kept saying, doubt us all you want, but we believe. And the rest of the world, myself included, was like, yeah, right, come on. Of course you got to say that. Yet this would prove that they really did. And if they pull it off, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, sometimes you keep saying it over and over and over. Sometimes that helps you as well. So if you hear that media clip over and over, well, we still think we're in it. Okay, yeah, okay. The rest of us are like, you're done. You're done. See you later. But after they won Game 4 in commanding fashion, going back to Florida, after they won that game, that's where true belief manifested, I believe. That just we can actually do this, boys. And they've tugged on everything right now, and they've got the whole country right behind them right now. And as I said, as a fan, it's pretty darn exciting to watch this game tonight, and I'm going to be tuned in.
Well, I got a question about just within a Game 7. There's obviously momentum changes, but what did you see that when a team maybe wobbles? Let's say that there's a bad bounce and it leads to a goal, or there's a big penalty killing you or whatever. Like how do teams that you were part of, how did they kind of weather that little ugly storm or burst from the other team? Yeah.
I think you have to expect that. And the last Game 7 I was in Washington, we were down 2-0. We were on the road. They came out just like every team does, just like Florida's going to do tonight. They're going to come out and they're going to be buzzing, throwing hits around, feeding off the crowd. Hopefully, what they're going to try to do is obviously get a lead. But after that, the game kind of settles in. Struddy and O-Dog, like as you guys know, it just kind of settles in, and then the real game starts. And if Edmonton can withstand that pressure, just hold it up a little bit. I think a little bit more pressure is just going to start to build on that side. But you can't. You ever play with guys on the bench where like you get scored against, they just let out a huge F-bomb, like I can't believe it, it's the worst thing in the world, like. You can't have that, right? You can't have that, right? I mean, everyone's played with those guys, but you can't have that. You'd be like, all right, let's pick up the pieces. Let's go. It's just another game. We're going to figure this stuff out.
Well, Willie, it's been great catching up with you. I know you played Pinehurst number 2 many times. You ever missed that putt Rory missed on 18? Like if you put the ball there, I don't know if you've ever been in that spot. You ever missed that putt?
I missed a lot of putts. I'm sure I would have missed that one too. I don't know if he sliced the heck out of it or if that broke like a whole cup, but I don't know. I felt really bad for him. That was tough to watch.
Yeah, that one stung, man. That's what we're facing tonight, right? Whoever loses, man, you got to go lick your wounds. But someone's going to be victorious. It was DeChambeau a couple weeks ago, and it'll either be Florida or Edmonton tonight. It's going to be a blast. Appreciate you doing this, buddy. Thank you, and we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, boys, as always. Have a good one.
You got it. Justin Williams, 3-time Cup champ, Conn Smythe winner, special advisor to the GM down in Carolina, and pretty good golfer, as you always say. Oh, pretty good golfer.
Yeah, he plays in a bunch of those pro-ams and celebrity tours stuff, so I don't know what he gets out of that. I don't know. I never see him win anything, but he's...
Free golf shoes.
Yeah, you get exactly a sleeve of golf balls and a pair of shoes.
Nice sweater.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to be on TV like that. I think Brooke Henderson played in a tournament. She plays in. They have a celebrity pro-am to start their season in Florida, and he plays in it. And when you get TV cameras and a scorecard and a pencil, it's a different ball game. So to even tee it up with that type of environment, it's you got to be a player.
You got to have exactly, man. You got to have your nerves on check. All right, Noodles coming up from Florida. His take on the Kevin Weeks report as well. We'll get into it. That Joseph Wall is on the verge of signing a 3-year extension with the Leafs. Weeks, he's saying $3.5 to $4 million per. We'll get into that. The Jays, Scotty Barnes has got a new deal kicking in, a 5-year deal, a max, which we all knew was coming. It was a formality, but it locks him up. Scotty's not going anywhere here in Toronto. So a lot to get into today as we look ahead to the Jays in action and, of course, Game 7, Oilers-Panthers tonight. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, thanks again to Justin Williams. We got Noodles coming up into the next hour. Kevin Lowe later this afternoon. Game 7 tonight. Jays in action. Scotty Scheffler beating Tom Kim and protesters yesterday at the Travelers.
That was insane, man.
I was watching it live, and I had no idea what was going on. I thought it was just hooligans out there being like, I'm going to win a bet, and then I realized, okay, they're out there trying to, I don't know, ruin the green or ruin the tournament. It did not ruin the tournament. CBS, I thought, handled it really well. And Scheffler's like, all right, whatever. Tom Kim, make the putt. It's not going to make a difference. I'm going to win this thing. Guy's an absolute machine. It's scary to watch him
Tom
play golf
Kim
right
made
now.
a crucial error in the fairway, though, in the playoff hole. Like, he tried to hammer a lob wedge, and he just needed to dead hand some kind of sand wedge. Like, that lob wedge is spinning off the green to that new pin anyway. I don't know why he tried that shot. His caddy should be ashamed of himself why he let him do that. That's an experienced caddy in Tesori, too. It's like, dude, just hit the sand wedge. He tried to munch a lob wedge, and it was like, why?
Well, and he got it so high that it fried egg too, right? Like he couldn't. Then once it was in that bunker, there was no way he was getting that anywhere close to the green, to the pin. Like,
hit a
no
sand wedge.
chance.
You might have a 10-foot downhill putt, but it's better than that stupid bunker with a fried egg. I couldn't believe he did that.
Well, that's exactly. Scheffler was just like, I'll hit a 3-wood and throw one to 15 feet.
But that's exactly, that was almost the Tiger Woods effect, where Tom Kim thought he had to do something spectacular to beat him, where it's like you didn't.
No,
you just didn't have to not go in the. You just had to not go in the bunker. That's what you had to do, and he couldn't. But you know what I mean? He tried to hit the spectacular because he probably thought he had to, and that's what happened to all those guys. It cost them, man.
They overthink it. They're young.
They're like, I gotta hit this to an inch, and it's like you're in the bunker now, and then you lose.
Yeah.
And you shake hands and you walk off, and you're a loser.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. And Scheffler's going to shut it down now until the Open, and he'll be a heavy favorite once he gets there. As for the game tonight, the Panthers are a slight favorite. We'll talk about whether or not they should be into the next hour. And we got 7 questions for Game 7. We'll answer those. We'll get to Noodles. We'll chat about the idea that Joseph Wall could be on the verge of signing an extension with the Leafs as well. That's all coming up in hour 2. Struddy's with us. The O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, and Bryan Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN Plus.